Alrighty, this We the People News. Not attorney, not giving legal advice, especially here, because he's an attorney. All right, educational purposes only. Okay, I may give my opinion only. Do your own research, educate yourself. Okay, never look just straight forward. Always look around you. Be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Use the Second Amendment. Arm yourself with knowledge. All right. So this is gonna be a YouTube video. I think I've done one of his videos before talking about the 14th Amendment challenging the jurisdiction issue, basically, uh, about citizens from the borders and all that kind of stuff, which I don't dig deeply into. As far as I'm concerned, we don't need borders, but it is what it is, and I'm going to let them argue about that. Okay? Um, God gave us this whole planet Earth. It's really the persons that kind of destroyed all that shit. All right. Excuse me. So this is Robert. Capital Robert. Capital Gouveia. Capital E. Uh, capital ESQ. Okay, Esquire. All right. If you want to hear this case, let's see what he has over here to see if you can kind of go into his deal right there. All right. Now, of my limited knowledge on this is talking about the judicial courts chewing out the Fifth Circuit courts for their stupid decisions for the lower courts. They've been making a lot of stupid decisions, so this is not a surprise with the Fifth Circuit. As a matter of fact, we just had a ruling about officers when they shoot us people that they only go by the last few seconds when the officers shoot. But for us, it's during the beginning, during the middle, and during the end to investigate the whole situation. But for officers, it's just that last few seconds, and it's just in the standing of that time frame. And finally, the Supreme Court's actually ruled a good decision on that, saying, yeah, no, can't do that. Of course, there's other crap in there that is going to have to be nitpicked through. But overall, ruled against the Fifth Circuit. So, yay on them on that. So, there we go on that. Congratulations on the Supreme Court's actually making a good decision again. They made a good couple of them, so more than past few years. So, yay. Okay, get back. Rambling. So, it's about the border thing again, and it's an emergency deal to talk to the Supreme Courts, and it gives some like 45 minutes, and of course, all the judges are asleep, and all the courts are closed, and the uh, one of the famous attorneys, I can't even think who they are, but if you want to look at the case, you'll find out. But anyway, they just give them 45 minutes after midnight, which was 12 a.m. Okay, and gave the time frame for the district court to do it in. And they said, no, 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 no. The Fifth Circuit says yes, yes, yes. So the lower courts goes back and chew their ass out and says, no, this is not okay, y'all. According to your Supreme Court, even 9 days was too short. And you're saying it's okay for 45 minutes? Anyway, there's a particular part in here I really like to show y'all. Now, that being said, when I do it, don't mean this judge knows the full extent of Texas law because they've been ignoring it for 50 years. That's the reason why I'm going to give my opinion, because I'm not an attorney, I'm not giving legal advice. But since it's in the dockets, of a certified court into chewing out the Supreme Courts. All right, let's try to go back. And
a distinguished former district judge has already come forward with these pointed observations. He's saying someone else said this too. In fact, Paul G. Castle wrote about this in the Wall Street Journal after the Supreme Court came back down and acted a fool. He said Judge Hendricks' service was exemplary. Says the majority was wrong to malign this judge and sent a disturbing message about procedural norms. We need more jurists like Judge Hendricks, and the Supreme Court should think more carefully about how its rulings could distort the work of the lower courts. Yeah, it was very...
Gee, you think? Fucking Fifth Circuit?
Inappropriate of them. It's like somebody who's like a black belt coming out and just beating the hell out of a white belt who did an amazing job, right, and was stellar and outstanding. It was pretty sick to see it. Now, the district judge is not the only public official whose treatment in this case warrants comment. Supreme Court,
all right, so this is going to be very important of my outlook, and I'll explain why here in a second.
Why the district court established the 24-hour filing deadline? Why is this? Because the court firmly believed that the government should have the right to express its position before any ruling is issued, and rightly so.
All right, so this right here is very important, okay? Now, this district court is calling out the 24-hour filing deadline. But he allegedly is missing the point, because in Texas Criminal Code's rules of procedure, or the law, the Texas Codes of Procedure, right? You heard me talk about 14, 15, 16. You heard me talk about, and this, some of you guys are new. All right, the 24-hour guideline right here, educational purpose, not giving legal advice, okay? So, because I'm not an attorney. Because they created new standards that violated Article 3, Section 28 up to Section 35 of the state constitution, that it cannot stand. It's been unlawful, and that's the reason why the judges, the Court of Appeal judges, are in the process of being sued under gang activity because they're misleading everybody and not following the law. All right? And this is part of it right in here. Now, let me explain this why. Okay? And I'm not going to go into great details. Research yourself. All right? However, 14, 15, warrants. Okay? With or without a warrant. Okay? Now, next process. With or without a warrant, you'd be taken directly to the nearest magistrate. Texas. All right. All the other states too as well. I just know Texas. All right. Now, the magistrate goes through and looks at everything. All right. 24 hours to follow the deadline of a writ to the clerk to send to the grand jury to indict you. Okay? Not to keep you in jail for 2 years until you plead out because you give up. Not before you go or after you go to jail. This is all supposed to be done before you go to jail. Now, the 24-hour guideline right here, let me explain this very carefully because this is actually very important. And again, I'm not going into every single little bitty detail. However, if it's not done within the 24 hours, according to Texas law, if I can recall correctly, okay, let me put that in there. And I'm not an attorney, not giving legal advice. It is to be dropped. The charges is to be dropped. But the reason why they're bypassing all this is so you can be forced into a plea bargain, right? Because due process does not exist in plea bargains. It's only if you go to court. In order for that due process to work, you actually have to go through the whole due process. Uh, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty and all that, or presumed innocent until proven guilty, right? So the officers got to do investigation, get everything lined up, which is, where is it? Express view before any ruling is issued. Express view, right? The magistrate must read the affidavit under penalty of perjury, express that, and see if there's what? PC, probable cause before you go to jail, right? Well, great. So there's probable cause. All right. So since they found probable cause, that magistrate within 24 hours is issue a writ to the clerk to send to the grand jury to indict you. That's your due process, people. Due process, okay? Because you're assumed innocent. So the writ for the grand jury is for your body to be jailed. Now you can be bonded, but that is the writ is for your captivity. All right, your detainment in a matter of, in an easy way of explaining that, your arrest. Okay, so rambling. Okay, this is what the process of due process is supposed to look like in common law, in writing, in the state of Texas or the Texas Republic. Both sides, state of and the Texas Republic, is supposed to have common law. We've been ignoring that. And then they've been ignoring this. We've been ignoring that. All to get that 98% conviction rate, so the prosecutor can eventually become a what? A judge. And then what happens? Does the exact same thing over and over and over again. He goes up there, he'd been taught to violate all these things, and then turns around and creates a whole new problem. Then you get another prosecutor getting that 98% conviction rate due to the plea bargain, due to under duress, due to misleading lies, and violate your 24 hours and telling officers to commit crimes by taking you to jail first. Oh, wait, let's go with their secret codes, okay? Which he's going to say here in a little bit, right? Or maybe up here in a little bit. I can't remember. I got too much further than that. Well, you cannot expect them to be there 24 hours a day. Well, yes, we can. They signed up for the job. That's all I got to say. I was an oil field truck driver. Okay? I drove across countries before electronic logs. Okay? I told myself when to go to bed. I was available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And just saying, truck drivers do it every freaking day. And you expect me to say, oh, judges can't do it? Yes, they can. All right? They get woken up in the middle of the freaking night. Why? Because they wanted a search warrant. Because this right here. Now, if they don't want it that way, nighttime and daytime magistrate. If there's another county that may be closer, then you can be taken to the nearest magistrate. It didn't say what county. It just says taken to the nearest magistrate that it's available. Okay? So if your magistrate has got a time limit and you can't see that magistrate in your particular area, that officer must take you to the nearest magistrate that is available. Okay? I don't care if it's in Dallas, Texas, from Abilene. that officer's to take you all the way to Dallas, Texas, with the magistrate. It's available. Why? We're not supposed to go to jail first. This is not complicated, state of Texas. All right, sorry. Anyway, again, I'm not giving legal advice. This is educational purposes only. Do your own research, okay? And people that have family members who's been in jail, you've been in jail and all that, it's best to learn these things, okay? They're going to give you a bunch of things. Oh, speaking of, on 14, there will be an extension added to the bottom of the list of the Criminal Code 14, okay? So it's going to say do-do-do-do-do. It's going to tell you exactly what I just told you. Then there's going to be an extension going do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. This right there, in that code you read, was never constitutionally passed by the legislatures, which makes this right here null and void, okay? And this right here, plus other statutes to help this unlawfulness, violating the state constitution, created other statutes here, okay? Which makes everybody over here fall in line with the gang activity, okay? So, recap. Uh-oh. All right, recap. Officers, you're supposed to take them to the nearest magistrate, and next nearest available magistrate. All right, 2 o'clock in the morning, you call the magistrate, and you wake them up and tell them to come out. You need a proper cause. You need to see the PC. Not after jail, not what all these other judges been doing that you've been watching on video. Okay? So, this is not the way the Texas
that's how the law works. All right.
This is not the way Texas law is supposed to work in writing. Okay? So, then you go through the process like I just explained. Officers, magistrate, writ, clerk, let's see. Officers, magistrate. PC, take to jail, 24 hours, writ to the grand jury, in short, within the 24 hours. If it does not come about, then that magistrate's to order the release of you in jail and cannot bring the charges back. Okay? That was a protection for we the people. And that was a protection for innocent people more than the guilty. But that was also protection of the due process so it didn't get violated. These are we the people news. Bye, y'all.